Hello and welcome to the next episode of the Powerless Podcast. In this episode, I talked to Ethan, Cameron, and Sean, who are the guitarist, drummer, and vocalist, respectively, of the band Chained Saint out of South Florida. This band has a lot of really classic sort of thrash metal and kind of old hardcore and different sensibilities of the more classic elements of heavier music in their influences, despite being a relatively young band. I believe one of them just graduated high school this past semester. We get into the start of the band, working with William DuVall, who is the vocalist and one of the guitar players of Alice in Chains, obviously, who helped produce this record with them, how they recorded the record, their debut record, Blindside, completely analog with tape, not even using any computers, not using a click track, and kind of their intention behind that and why they do that, and kind of William's influence there as well. So we break down the record. It's 8 tracks. Do a track by track of that. Talk about all the influences in it. Everything from social political commentary on things like war or political unrest within the United States, to mental health, to anger in general, and just everything in between. We dive into what it was like as such a young band to play at a massive festival like Welcome to Rockville. We talk about their newest song that just came out that you'll hear at the end of this, called 1,000 Tons, and just all in all, kind of their approach to music, what they pull from, what they're influenced by, and why their band is sort of unique in this vein of more classic sounding thrash metal and things of that nature, as opposed to kind of going down the more sample based or synth and electronic music influenced modern metal trajectories that a lot of other bands are on. We get into all that and a lot more. So I really do want to thank all of them for coming on to the podcast. Again, Ethan, Cam, and Sean, they were great to talk to, had a lot of insights for especially being a band that's so young and so up and coming. And I expect to see great things coming from this band going forward. You can make sure to find the band on all social media at Chained Saint, and all those will be below. You can find them on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, things of that nature. All that stuff will be below. Make sure to check out all their music at their website and see where they're coming to a show near you. And again, I just absolutely love that people are chiming in for this one. If you hear it for the first time, I talk to artists, musicians, producers. I've had on people like Joey Sturgis. I've had on Silent Planet. I've had on as well as political commentators and journalists and things of that nature. Really like to do a lot of track by track breakdowns for bands as well. So if you want to follow the podcast, if you're new here, it's the Powerless Pod on all social media. You can email me at thepowerlesspod@gmail.com if you want to be on the show. If you have constructive criticism, if you want to tell me I suck at doing this, all those things are welcome. And I just really appreciate anyone that's coming by to check this out and listen to what Chained Saint has to say about their music and kind of deep diving their songwriting process and their lyrics and everything in between. So with that, we'll get into the episode with Chained Saint, again, a metal band out of the South Florida area on the Powerless Podcast. Thanks so much. Here for the next episode of the Powerless Podcast with Chained Saint, which is a metal band out of South Florida. I got in contact with you guys from a publicist I've been talking to here and there. Found out about your band from her and was absolutely stoked about what I heard. It's cool to find out a band with such young members and also is like one of the most classic sounding metal bands I've heard in a long time in a great way. So again, happy to have you guys on. What I thought we could do today is, first of all, have you guys introduce yourselves, what you do in the band for people that aren't familiar, talk about the start of the band, talk about your record Blindside that came out in August, maybe see where your guys' influences are and kind of break down the album a little bit, what it was like to play at Welcome to Rockville. So again, happy to have you guys on. Appreciate your guys' time out of your schedule. Why don't we go first from your guys' right to left and just introduce yourself and what you do in the band.
My name is Sean Sterling. I am the singer.
I'm Ethan Kahn. I play guitar.
Cameron Cottrell. I play drums.
Awesome. And again, this is Chained Saint out of South Florida. I always like to ask bands, if I've never spoken to them before, kind of what you've been listening to a lot lately to kick things off, kind of your Spotify on repeat or an album you've been listening to. Could be an album from the seas from right now, whatever the case may be. So starting with Sean, just kind of tell me a band or two you've been listening to a lot lately.
Really what I've been listening to recently is I've actually been listening to Mr. Morale by Kendrick Lamar and Chromacopia by Tyler, the Creator. That's actually just been my top 2 albums.
Those, the Tyler Creator one, I've been going back to his catalog a lot lately, and I kind of underrated some of his later releases. I was a big fan of Odd Future when they first kicked off, and obviously a lot of the different albums, from everything from Earl Sweatshirt to obviously Tyler and Frank Ocean and everything. But I slept on some of these later albums too. They're weird, but that's Tyler. They're fantastic.
It's just him being him. And I just love how he's able to just like take everything about it, just be so unapologetically Tyler in music. I feel like that's like what we all strive to do and what we should be doing.
Yeah, authenticity is first and foremost what gets people to listen in the first place, right? Like, regardless of genre, as long as you're like true to what you want to do, I think that's kind of where the audience comes from. And Odd Future, and specifically Tyler, after they've kind of all separated, I think is like the sort of best example of that for sure. All right, go ahead and go next.
All right, so one band I've definitely been into recently a lot, Final Resting Place. I've just been listening to just both their EPs on repeat for the past few weeks. And another mention would probably be the Painted Truth split with Tsunami that just came out. Great EP. I love Fence Walker. Great song. But yeah, those are my repeats.
All right, let's go ahead and go over to Cameron. Go ahead and tell me what you've been listening to a lot lately.
For me, I've been listening to the new Drain song that actually released today. I've been listening to like what Ethan said, Final Resting Place, God's Hate. Yeah.
Well, it sounds like you guys, like, from the jump, have a pretty eclectic, it's fair to say, like a pretty eclectic taste in music in the band, which is a good thing, right? Like from kind of like indie hip hop to various heavier bands. To kind of go from that a little bit before we get into your record, how did this band come together? I know that it says, at least on your bio, you kind of started together in 2022. Blindside, from what I could find, at least on Spotify and streaming services, is your only release. Like, it's your debut album, but I haven't like seen a whole lot of other releases from you at all, other than that record. So with you guys listening to a lot of different music, and I don't know if you guys, I know you're a relatively young band. I don't mean to keep saying that over and over. I'm sorry, but how did you guys all come together? Were you in the same school together? Did you find each other online? Kind of break down for me where Chained Saint kind of came into play.
Well, when I was younger, I had gone to this music program called School of Rock when I was just kind of starting to get into music and stuff. And that's where I met Sean. And I've known Sean for years. We've been jamming all the time. We used to be playing Dream Theater covers and Rush covers in his garage. And, eventually we just thought he'd be the perfect guy, and I always knew he's a fantastic singer and, a great friend of mine. And for Cameron, I mean, I met Cam in school because we went to the same high school. So he was in my guitar class, and we kind of just like, it was a little funny to us because we would be across the room, but we're in the same band together, but we wouldn't say a word to each other. We would I'd be on one side, he's on the other, and like I'd just play like funny guitar riffs that we thought were funny at the time. And then he'd laugh and I'd laugh, but we wouldn't say a word. And then we get to practice and we're like best friends. But yeah, that's kind of how it started. Just most of us at school, and then through School of Rock originally when we were younger.
You also mentioned Blindside being the only release. Stay tuned. We do have a new song coming out within, it's like the 9th and like
June 19th.
Yeah, okay, we can say
June 9th, yeah.
June 19th, in 10 days, we're dropping a new song.
Hey, that's awesome. So that'll actually, I believe, be out the day before this comes out as well. So we could talk about that in a little bit after we talk about the album, if you guys don't mind. That'd be good to kind of break down for you all as kind of a promo for it once it's out too. Well, that's really cool. I know when Tori sent over your guys' stuff and I checked out the band, it took me quite a while to realize, and I said this earlier, but I mean it in like a cool way. When I first listened to the record, I was like, all right, this is like, in a lot of ways, like a modern thrash metal band that has a lot of, some hardcore punk influences and different things like that, but still feels a little modern. And then I looked it up and I was like, I can't believe that, like, of all the bands I've talked to, you guys are probably like maybe the most, like the youngest up and coming band I've talked to, yet you've got the most like classic metal sound in like a really cool way that I found refreshing, because someone that grew up listening to things like everything from Metallica and all those kinds of, like, obviously like legacy bands and things of that nature. And I've spoken to close to 100 bands at this point. I hear a little bit of influence, obviously, from some of the greatest bands of all time of thrash metal and things of that nature, but I don't hear that influence as much in the forefront as it is for you all. And as a somewhat up and coming, like I said, younger band that has a lot of influences. You're not just naming off like older bands. You're not just naming off, kind of classic metal projects. Where did this come from for you all to kind of have this very classic, thrash metal sound? I don't know. Is there like a scene for that more in South Florida? Were you guys kind of the odd band out in a lot of ways? Like, kind of where did that come from for you? Because I absolutely loved it. I was pleasantly surprised by it, but kind of where did that come from for you as you guys got together?
Well, it was just very organic. We had started off kind of just jamming, kind of like the same bands you mentioned, like Metallica and all those big four and all those legacy bands. Cause we were just, we love that stuff, and we all love the same music. And we went from kind of just playing these covers to saying one day, hey, let's, try and write a song. We wrote a few, and then we eventually got to songs that are on the record, like Neanderthal and Locked Away, which those are the third and fourth songs we wrote. And we just kept moving forward with it, just very organic, just pushing through. And we'd sit in my garage for hours sweating, just trying to get to the next part of a song and just get it done. And the sound really just came. This is just the most collaborative thing, is our sound, is we all input what we like, what we think, to make sure it's, Chain Saint as a whole in the music. And it's really just what we think as a whole we would sound like, and it's just what we put forward.
Yeah, that's great. I enjoyed reading, and I guess we'll jump into the record here pretty quick, but I enjoyed reading, first and foremost, hearing that you had your record produced by William DuVall of Alice in Chains for your debut record. I was like, God damn, that's so cool. Because I know from reading a little bit about how analog you guys went with this, I know, for instance, his solo record he put out, I think it was called One Alone, that he did. It was literally him and I think 2 microphones, 1 guitar, and he did like 1 takes for it all. So like very raw, very real. It's like you can hear it in the record as like in a really cool way that I don't even think he maybe did, but I don't even know if he used metronomes for it. And I know from reading your guys' bios and kind of digging into it a little bit that you guys went really analog with this as well. So before we get into the record and maybe do a track by track and the influences in it, what was the thought process there? Kind of speak to a little bit about how you got in contact with William DuVall of Alice in Chains, and also what the approach was to going so analog and giving the details a little bit there as well.
So with William, he's just been a longtime family friend, and my dad had just sent him a video. Just one day, I was like, "Hey, they're just jamming, covers in the garage. Should they cut their hair and play sports, or is this like something cool?" And William is straight up, he's a real guy, and he would say so. And he's like, "Look, let him keep jamming in there, even no matter how loud it is, because he saw something." And eventually, we just recorded demo after demo, and he was interested. And at one point, we did a full 4-track demo and sent him everything we had. And he just from there was like, "I'm going to come down and I want to go rehearse with you guys for a weekend. And I want to see what you guys have in person." And that kind of jump-started everything. And after that, we went to West End in Atlanta, and yeah, the rest is kind of just history.
Yeah, that's great. That's cool that that's a family friend, because what an end to have. He's legendary. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. If you want to talk about the analog.
Yeah. You had brought up like, how the record was so analog, no computers whatsoever, just us, the board, and the tape machine. One thing that William did stress and taught us talk to us about was just the sense of like, with all the computers, just like in everything we do nowadays, it's hard to determine like what's real and what's not. The good example of that is, what's the new AI thing?
Man, that VO3, Google VO3.
Oh yeah.
That like you can type a prompt in and generate so many things now. And in the modern music industry, using tools like Pro Tools, Logic, like all those DAWs, you can, artificially go back and edit what you do. It was important. What he talked to us about, and was also important to us, is about being authentic on the record. Authentic not only to what we like, but how we play and portray what we actually sound like. He said that this is an exact representation of how we are musically at this moment. And then the further we get in our career, we can further back and go back and reference and know, hey, that's actually how we play. That's not us with a little bit of editing. Like, this is authentically us. And, I think that's something we definitely took and pushed through to the next song, keeping that authenticity.
Yeah, I would say so. I think that's what I mean. To your point on that too, it kind of pulled me in because I listen to a lot of modern metal. I have no problem personally with like a lot of electronic elements and all that kind of stuff. I think AI is a different story. I think I would say fuck off to AI in music. But when I write music right here. I use a DAW, all that kind of stuff. I know a lot of people that do that make great music and all that. But I think like what pulled me in first and foremost when I heard this was how raw and real it was. I felt like I hadn't heard a record like this since some albums I'd heard in the 90s or early 2000s in a lot of ways, with few exceptions. I think there's one Knocked Loose record where they did it pretty natural and they didn't even use a click track, and you can hear it with the push and pull, the tempos and stuff like that. With you guys, when you said, you use a tape machine, you got the mixing board, tape machine, recording, did you do like literally like in like a full band, kind of like what Rage Against the Machine did with some records where like the band's in the room, they record and that's what it is? Did you do one person at a time? Was there still a metronome? Tell me kind of the details there with the production process.
I mean, recording, it was just like we wanted to get the embodiment of what we sounded like writing these songs as pure as possible. And it's kind of hard to replicate sounding like you are in a garage on record. And, this is just the way we've been playing for together for a while now. It's just together, no metronomes, no nothing. Cam is such a beast. We've never had to worry about a metronome. Like, we just went in there and we did go track by track afterwards. But at first, we're just playing as a group. And then, after we wanted to kind of get a little meticulous with it because, I wanted to kind of nerd out about tracks and whatnot. But yeah, we just wanted to make it as authentic and near to us as possible.
So what you're saying is Cam's such a good drummer that he is a human metronome, and then you're good to go, right? Because that's why I wanted to ask that, because like it feels so tight. Like I said, I forget which EP it was from Knocked Loose early on, but they did no metronome, and you could tell a little bit in a cool way, like it kind of ebbed and flowed a little bit, where maybe if they were using a click track, it would definitely be more on the grid, where yours felt so on time that I was wondering if you did or not. And that just shows, I guess, your rhythm section has the chops, to say the least. So kudos to you guys. That's sick. So you said you did. So I guess like this is me nerding out a little bit with the music, because so often I talk to people, it's very, like you said, very conventional, using the DAW, going back, maybe recording riff by riff, drum part by drum part, vocal by vocal. Did you have to do like a lot of reamping? Did you use your own amps? Did you use like Williams like whole arsenal? Like what was just give to me as many details as you can about that production process for the record overall.
I mean, for guitar, we were at West End Sound in Atlanta, and boy, they had so many goodies there for a guitar player. Many people wouldn't believe it, but there's not a single EMG pickup on the record. It's really just a ton of Gibsons they had, and something William had brought in. He brought a signature that he had, a Framus, which was killer. But yeah, guitar-wise, it was a lot different than what we're used to. 'Cause I was just trying to go in there and rip on my Jacksons and do what I know. But we changed a little bit for that. And, amp-wise, they had we just used what they had there. William also recommended we use another certain head. I forget the name, but we had a specific head that we were using for certain tracks. That was, man, I'm so glad we used it because it was a beast. But yeah, we try to use as much as we had available, because we were there and it was like, we're like kids in a candy shop with all the stuff that was there. I didn't expect to get there and have all this killer gear. And we're very thankful to the guys from Mastodon, their studio, and they let us borrow some of that gear. Shout out to Bill Kelleher. But yeah, we're just very grateful, and it was great just to kind of mess around with stuff and see what we can do with different gear and try as much as possible. Yeah.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Cam, for you, as far as like the drums and stuff goes, did you use your own kit? Was there a killer, obnoxiously expensive one they had at the studio that you got to fuck around with? Like, what was your kind of experience in that? Because yeah, I thought when you mentioned that, I thought that was Mastodon, but my memory off the top is garbage. So you're going in this like high, like very well renowned band's studio as far as like the kind of music you all make. Did you get to kind of fuck around with their arsenal as well, or kind of use your own stuff? Kind of what were, I guess, your overall takeaways from the production process for this record?
For all the drumming's part of the recording process. Everything was my drum kit. The cymbals. I think there was one cymbal that they had there that I actually just used. It was like a 20-inch crash, and I really liked it. That was the only thing that wasn't mine, but everything else, that's
Very natural. So like what you're playing live is pretty much
Yeah.
what people get on the record. That's really, really cool. And then Sean, for you, as far as the vocals go, I would see where like maybe, because obviously, you know, you're talking about the producer role for DuVall, you know, that could what people say as producer can change from you know, recording to recording on what that means. Was there a lot of influence there from him as far as like your vocal takes? Was it what, you know, kind of what was your experience recording this record role?
It was a lot of fun. For his role, he actually took more of a mentoring role than he did, hey, sound like this role. Because, you know, singer to singer, he was like, hey, this is going to translate, this isn't. I remember the whole, which track did I record first? The Animosity.
Yeah, I think so.
He was focusing on getting this not what he called the cookie monster sound out of my voice. It was like he's like, cut that out. Everything from takes, what to eat, what not to eat, how to sleep, how not to sleep, like
Whole thing, yeah.
everything under a microscope. When it came to the actual recording, he let me flex my creative juices, but he also did have the sound he was like looking for, and he'd be like, yes, that's it, or no, that's not it, or more octane, less octane. It really just like everything was on a case-by-case basis. But we really, in terms of the nerdy stuff, in terms of recording, you know, because I know that, I know you fuck with that.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
for the vocal chain, it started off in a Neve preamp and went into a compressor, forgot what compressor, and then it went to a distressor, so it gave it a little bit of crunch. Then, I mean, I forgot exactly which mic we used on Animosity, but we used different mics for each track. One a reoccurring mic was the SM7B. Yeah, amazing mic. Is that what you get? That's what you got right there, right?
Yeah, that's what I got. Yeah, I got the one with like the built-in what are they called, preamps and all that stuff in it too. Yeah, absolutely love this thing. So versatile.
Amazing.
Yeah.
One line around the office somewhere.
Yeah.
Amazing mic. Probably one of the best mics. I mean, if it was good enough for Michael Jackson, it's good enough for me.
100%. I know. I'll talk to like some bands. I've talked to some of my favorite bands over the course of doing this that have done like huge records. You know, they didn't get to work with a guy from Alice in Chains, but they got to do some really good records. They'll talk about, you know, we use these like $2,000 boutique mics and all this kind of stuff, and then we ended up going right back to the SM7B. Like it's just so good.
It's like, yeah, and it's a super cardioid, so it's very good at like taking out some of the room noise. Even though we were in like great studio, so the room noise wasn't even an issue. But love that mic. Love that mic.
Yeah, it is as cooler people than me would say, the GOAT. Yeah, so that's really cool. Again, one thing I wanted to note too real quick with you, Cam, as far as the drums go, first thing that stuck out to me when I heard the record, when Animosity kicked on, was the drum tone. Because, you know, again, not to beat this to the ground, but so many bands now, and I think there's fantastic drummers. Again, I'm not shitting on bands that do like the more modern way, right, to be clear. But you know, so many people that use the same, you know, you hear what people would call like the Paramore Misery Business snare on every record now since like roughly 2000, right? Like you just hear a lot of the same really pushed snare, really pushed drums, or bass and all that kind of stuff, that kind of punchy noise that, like, you know, even if they used a really nice kit, they put in like triggers and samples to the point of it maybe not really even sounding like what they played in the studio, right? Were there things, I guess, like not just for you, Cam, but like for you guys in general, when you were doing this, since it was so analog, since it was so raw, that you were really looking at, were there like influences you guys had as far as like sonic elements go for this record? Because I got a lot of things of like, again, my, you know, I got like early, I hope I'm not naming off any bands you guys hate, but I got like, obviously, like I said, some especially with the guitar, like a lot of like early Metallica and Megadeth type things. With the drums, I kind of got like some of like my favorite older like hardcore bands, like it kind of had like that element to it. Were there kind of things you were going for when you were doing this on your own? You know, obviously DuVall's doing his production thing and kind of like helping you guys out with that, but what were some big influences you guys had for this record when it came to the sounds and things that you were going for?
For me, regarding guitar, I just wanted to. Well, at first, I had gone in there with a different idea because I was just so used to the garage tone, and I was playing a completely different amp and head that I do to practice than I was when we got in there. So, I was just in my head, we're going to go in there, just stack these crazy crunchy tones on there. And William did kind of teach me a lot with the creating a wall of sound and with the guitars and stuff. But going in there, I just kind of just wanted to make it sound like we sounded in the garage. I'm a ton of influences that we've had going into it. Most notable would be Sepultura for me. But my main goal guitar wise was kind of just get, that garage tone, that gritty tone, and, just make it sound like us.
That's the way to go. Sometimes that's the best answer is I don't want to sound like anybody else, right? What about you, Cam? When you kind of recorded, was there anything you were really going for as far as influences go? Are there any drummers you took a big inspiration for? Not, I shouldn't say just for the tones, but for the, kind of what you played on the record as well. Were there kind of specific influences or anything you can speak to there for your drumming?
Yeah, I was definitely listening to like a lot of Sepultura, so I always like had the mindset of like, yo, I have to go into this like I'm Igor Cavalera and I just gotta ring. For like the snare tone, I just like kind of cranked the bottom and then I kind of just like let it sit there and then it just sounded the way I wanted it to. The toms sounded pretty good, honestly. Like every single day we went in there. Yeah, that was just kinda it.
So when you talk about, obviously when you talk about Sepultura, you're talking about the longtime drummer that's no longer in the band that you're primary. So how do you feel about him going to Slipknot? What are your feelings on that? Do you have any strong feelings on that?
I kind of like it. I mean, I saw Slipknot last year at Welcome to Rockville, and that was like one of the first shows with Eloy, and it was killer. Yeah, it was really sick.
Yeah, I knew he could definitely like do it. It was like I saw people were very panned on whether or not they liked the fact that he was gone from Sepultura to do it, but he absolutely crushes it with the band. Like I watched like a few live drum cam videos he was doing. It was like he did one like the day, like he learned the set in 3 days or something for the first set, and he did it, and it was like you would think he was in the band for 10 years, which is no surprise from him, but I was just curious what your thoughts were on that. That's cool that you enjoy it, though. That's good. It's good to not be a hater as much as we can, right? And then, Sean, for your approach on these, there's so many different things I can pull out of your voice on this. I won't even try to give all the different things I heard because your voice is very dynamic on this. I would say, you talked about you use different mics for each song. I would say your vocal approach on each one of these songs is very, very different, from being more melodic to more, raw screaming to kind of like I said earlier, sort of like what I would view in my limited capacity of knowledge of some different genres of like sort of like the, more hardcore punk influence shouting that you do in a lot of songs. What were some of the influences you had, your process kind of when you were writing as far as the musical aspect of things go with your voice?
Well, in the recording process, I mean, the only two recurring influences recording wise and what I want it to sound like would be James Hetfield and Phil Anselmo. I mean, just because we wanted to deliver that like classic thrash sound. But honestly, the reason why each song kind of has a different vocal approach is just because each song calls for something different. Each song is about something different. So I'm like, how am I supposed to sound the same like each song? I'm actually an opera singer, like before metal. So, and one of the biggest things in opera was just like you have to like no matter what language the piece is in, you got to take it home, do a lyrical analysis, and be like, what do I need to convey? Am I happy? Am I sad? Am I angry? And then think about what that means in your voice and then just go and do it. So I really just applied that kind of mindset to go in the studio and pump out this recording.
Well, damn, that's the person to have when you're doing aggressive vocals too, because I think a lot of people underestimate like just how much you need to know about your voice in order to do some of the vocals that you're doing, because there's so many bands that'll do it that don't know what they're doing, and then they blow out their voice, they end up getting surgery, or they at least have to go to a vocal coach after, or whatever the case may be. So knowing you have that training makes a lot of sense, because I'm sure even though they sound polar opposite, there's a lot of things you can take away from that training that helps out with your voice and a lot of this. So that makes a lot of sense. That's really cool. I don't get to talk to too many people that say that they have that sort of training. That's awesome. Well, to go from there, I guess we could do what I like to do with bands, if you guys don't mind. we've talked a lot about the overarching musical influences and production, but I like to do a track by track with people, if you don't mind, and just kind of talk about your thoughts on it. And then I guess like when it comes to the writing process, Sean, are you the person that primarily writes the lyrics for the band? Is it more collaborative in general? What's the process there?
So we're pretty collaborative. This whole record, though, with these lyrics were not me. But in general, like when we write currently, it's very collaborative. We try to make sure all of our individual like opinions are in every aspect of music, whether it be lyrics, guitar, drums, or bass. We all give our input on everything.
That makes a lot of sense. And even, like what I always tell fans when I try to do this, especially when we talk about the lyrics, even if you're not the person that wrote the lyrics, you're playing with the band every fucking day. So you still have a say and you still have your opinions on what the songs are about and all that kind of stuff. I know some bands don't like to go into detail about what songs are about, but if you're so inclined when we do this, we go as deep as you want or as vague as you want. Doesn't matter to me. But I guess we'll go through these songs, just kind of ask what your thoughts are on them, your takes on them, lyrics as well if you're inclined, and then we'll break down what your how Welcome to Rockville was after that too, because that looked amazing. So to start off, this album is 8 songs, which again is pretty hearkening to some classic days of some thrash metal bands where they'd have 8 tracks and still it'd be longer than half the bands that put out 12 tracks at 3 minutes each kind of thing. So his first track is Animosity. Again, we could start off with Sean, go across the room. Just tell me your thoughts on this one, what your takeaways from the lyrics and anything in between.
Well, Animosity point blank period is just a song about animosity towards a person, basically. The song was really written about how we felt in a certain time about a certain situation. I'm not going to go too far in depth about it, but it's just a song. It's a song about how we felt about it. And so in terms of just like how the recording process went, it was just outright anger, upset, all out emotion. And I think in all aspects of the song, I think it was communicated decently well as just how we felt about the situation.
Yeah, absolutely. Any other thoughts on any other thoughts from either one of you guys on anything else with that song?
I mean, yeah, like he said, just bouncing off of Sean, it was a very angry tune. There was just a very particular situation in our lives during that period, and not to go too in depth, but we were just very angry, lots of feelings of animosity. No pun intended, but that's just how it was. And I very vividly remember I was on a family vacation and I was outside the Vatican City, and I was just still so upset at this. And that's when I wrote the lyrics to Animosity. And that was kind of just to put out there. I just try to put out whatever I was feeling, just this is how I felt. This is how I think we all felt. And kind of I thought it was the perfect song to match those lyrics, just be angry and just, that's just how we felt. And just be angry. That's the key takeaway from that song.
You certainly feel that from hearing it, to say the least. The record starts off going from 0 to 60 pretty quick in a great way. And again, it doesn't have to be just lyrics, just your thoughts in general on the song. Any takeaways on this one specifically?
Yeah, I don't really write lyrics, so
No, it's okay. That's fine.
it was a really fun one to jam out when we were writing it. It was really fun and really cool how we figured it out and pieced it all together.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a good Kickstarter for the record. I thought it was it really again, I know I already said this, but really hits the ground running. And for what I like about your guys' band, I'm sure you see this with other bands sort of in the scene of thrash metal that you're doing, but what I really appreciate is that you kick off the record with a song that's almost 6 minutes long. And again, in this day and age with a lot of modern metal, which you guys are bucking the trends of, people try to the amount of shows I'll listen to, whether it's another podcast or YouTube channels or whatever, where they roll their eyes at any song that's above 3 to 3.5 minutes long. It's come on, man, this shit rips. You got to have the anthemicness that you have in this, and and also the sort of I hope this doesn't come off the wrong way, but the thematic, the dramatic kind of theme oriented stuff that you guys throw in there, which again harkens to some of the best metal. Some of the best metal is the most dramatic sounding music, up and down, that you can get. So yeah, this one was cool and it really brought me in. And this is where I was yeah, I gotta fucking get these guys on and listen through the whole record. So yeah, great song. Let's go to the next one. That's sort of, yep, sorry, go ahead.
I just wanted to say something funny because we were talking about anger, and it reminded me of something my friend told me when he heard the song the first time. He heard it and watched the music video. He said, "Sean, y'all look and sound like you hate your parents. I was like, he was watching the music, he's like, y'all look like you hate your parents. I was like, I love my mom. Mom, if you're watching this, I love you down. I love we love our parents.
Yeah.
Just,
So
I thought that was really funny.
That is really funny. That's a funny takeaway from like watching a music video of you guys probably just looking so pissed off, right?
Wait,
That's good.
Oh,
That's a fun little anecdote. Yeah. Going to the next one, which is sort of it is the title track, the title track and the, subliner. Stronger Than Stone, Blindside, again, from right to left for you guys. Just kind of tell me your takeaways from this one, lyrically, what the song, in general, with the song, whatever the case may be.
okay, so Stronger Than Stone was definitely a learning opportunity, and I say for all of us, I'm speaking lyrically again, because it was the first song that we really implemented a chant to gain a crowd response. And it's actually one I think it's all all of our one of our favorite tracks to play on the record, just because it's just like it's fun, it's riffy, it's short, it's just like boom 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 boom, and it just hits you, and it's catchy. Yeah, I remember that was one of my most fond recording memories because it was me and William DuVall in the studio in the booth. He was like, "No, no, no, no." He's like, "Let me get in there with you." He's always like, he told Tom, he's like, "Hit record." He put the headphones on. He just moved. He's like, "What?" Doing his little dance. I was like, I'm like, I hope I don't sound bad because I have right next to me.
Yeah, talk about intimidating. Yeah, being thrown to the wolves on that one, right? Yeah, just a guy that's like worked with, played in a multi-platinum band, no big deal. Yeah.
Tall. Like I'm 6 foot. I'm tall. He is tall. Like
so tall.
It's like all that. Like he's such a amazing and big personality, and he's tall. I have to look up. I was like, oh.
Yeah, it's like working with a god of music right next to you, right? No, that's awesome. Yeah, that part is, I bet that part is so badass live. That's really cool. All right, Ethan, you want to go ahead and give your thoughts?
I have to say, this is definitely my favorite song to play on the record. Fun fact, this was the last song written, and originally it wasn't even meant to be recorded. We had about, I think, 13 songs going into the studio, and we cut a lot of them to make the final product. And it was kind of just me and Cam just jammed the intro one day. We were rehearsing, and we're like, dude, this is awesome. I was like, I love this. And we kept moving forward with it. It had different names, different lyrics originally. But yeah, it's become my favorite, just live and honestly in the studio. But yeah, it's just, again, like what you said, the chants, I've really grown to love that. And, at the end, the blind side with the breakdown, oh man, I love playing that part. But yeah, it's for me just a favorite for sure.
Do all three of you, when you're playing this live, do you all just shout it at the same time, like full group chant with the crowd? Is that like kind of the vibe you give?
See, I will. Yeah, I'll sing it, but not into the mic. I'm so in that breakdown when it hits every time. I'll be screaming it just out of just Blindside while I'm playing.
Yeah, just out of your own like vitriol, right? Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it'd probably be pretty cool if I got onto the mic, but Sean does his thing and he does it so well, so I kind of let him do it. But yeah, it's definitely also cool when you see people in the crowd singing it back, or
yeah,
that Blindside takedown worldwide. Just very fulfilling to see live, but yeah, very cool.
And it's a smart way to write music too, because even if somebody's singing, like if you're at Welcome to Rockville, which again we'll get to later, kind of your experience there. But if you're seeing if someone's singing you and they haven't heard it before, by the second time around, they can know those lyrics and scream it with you. That's like smart music writing. That can both get somebody to remember the song and get crowd participation from people that have never heard you before too. So it's actually like, not that you're doing it for marketing reasons, but it's just like good in that vein live too. Cam, any other thoughts on this one?
Yeah, it's definitely like my favorite to play when we play live. It's probably the most fun to record. It's very like jumpy.
Yeah.
Kind of always got like good constant flow. The breakdown's fun. But yeah, just probably like all around like my favorite song off the record.
I could see that as for the drummer. It feels like a fun one to just like beat the shit out of the drums for live. That's fantastic. All right, let's go on to Neanderthal, third track on here. Sean, give me your thoughts on this one.
The song about having somebody else turn you into a Neanderthal. Crazy, right? I like this song. This song's a lot of, especially live, this song just really gives it just gives it. This just song just gives Big Four.
Yeah.
That it's and I love that. It's definitely fun. It's a fun one, especially when we get to go to the fast section in the middle. But at the end of the day, it's groovy too. It's not just it's not two step at a time. It's groove, and it's easy to get a lot of octane. I know this one is definitely loved by the crowds whenever we play it because we always get to get in the chat a little bit. It's a lot of fun. I love this one.
It is a fun one. I mean, I'm going to probably say that about each one of these because you guys just have a lot of energy in your music, but that doesn't take away from it. It is a very fun one. Well, very cool. Ethan, you got any thoughts on this one, lyrically, how the music goes? Any details?
Yeah, for music, music-wise, definitely, I like having fun with it when we play, especially recently, because Cam kind of adds these little double bass parts during the verses, and I like to kind of see if I can kind of catch it at the same time and play the riff with the same kind of rhythm. And, it's also just fun sometimes just kind of sit there, hit the power stance, and just like, that's just down picking the whole time. And I gotta say, it's probably my favorite solo on the record. Very shreddy, very fun. And, that breakdown that goes right after it, it's just for me, it's a lot of fun to play, a lot of fun to write. A fun fact, again, that was the first song out of all the songs we wrote that was on the record. So originally titled Song 3, I think. So, yeah. But yeah,
Right, it landed just about the right spot there, so that's good. Yeah, you kept it in the same placement, so there you go.
yeah, but yeah, just overall, it's just so fun, and it's great when we play it like just together, and it gets kind of to the little bridge part where we stop, and it's kind of hanging, and we're all just looking at each other. Cam gets the 4 count, and it just goes right into some crazy thrash, and just a lot of fun, and I think it's a great kind of timestamp for where we started music wise. Like, it's just straight thrash there, and you could 2-step, you could circle pit to it. It's great.
Yeah, that's cool that one that you wrote so early on still, ends up so at the forefront of the record on like a track 3 placement too. So that's really cool. All right, Cam, any other thoughts on this one?
Yeah, I mean, I really like this song. Obviously, it starts with drums. Yeah, I like how it just kind of grooves for most of the song, and then it like stops, and it goes in like a really thrashy part. It's cool. I had really fun writing the song. It was like just me, Ethan, and Sebi like in the garage, and like Sebi just started like riffing, and then we just kind of like just wrote it from there.
Yeah. Actually, I think another fun fact, I keep bringing these up, I'm pretty sure the intro came from a failed attempt at Panama.
Yeah.
We were trying to play Panama, and that drum intro, and it just came from a failed attempt at trying to figure it off the top of our heads. And we're like, wait a minute, play that again. Like, just play that again, Cam. That sounds cool. And because it was a little different, and we dug it, and yeah, me and Sebi just got to riffing, and yeah.
That's the best too, when you go to just like dick around on like a different song and you fuck it up and you end up making your own. That's the kind of stuff too that you can't get out of, to go back to kind of how you guys are so collaborative. That's not something you're going to get out of like sitting here at, my computer picking a BPM and trying to write something with it. Like, you only get that when you're kind of hanging out with other people, like I said, just kind of shooting the shit and trying to just play a cover or something, and next thing you know, you're getting your own music out of it, which is a cool thing that you can't get unless you're collaborating in a garage or something to that effect. So yeah, awesome. Moving on to track 4, which is the last one of sort of the first half of the album. We've got Free Reign. Again, Sean, give me your thoughts on this one.
I love this one. The way I interpreted it, it's about war.
Yeah, more or less. Yeah.
So, yeah, it's almost as if it says, only the dead see the end of war. Crazy, right?
Yeah.
But I love this one. This was the first demo that I did, actually. So this one always had a little bit of a special meaning because this was like the first song for me. And I loved it. I dig it. The lyrics. This is the first one that you would really see like social commentary in. Fun fact, that's from this boy. He got a lot to say.
Yeah.
And I loved it. This is my time to really glaze my friend here. The social commentary on that song is amazing. And I just feel so honored to deliver lyrics every single time I play it. I felt so honored to deliver those lyrics in the studio. I think it's just a song that the world really needed and still needs.
Yeah, I got that from sort of this song in like the latter half of the record. That I was impressed again. I don't mean to keep saying this, but as someone who's in their early 30s, that I was hearing you guys and I heard the social commentary at the level you guys were doing in these songs. And then when I looked at your guys' about page, and at least when some of these songs were written, some of you at least were still in high school, right? And I was like, God, I wasn't writing shit like that when I was in a band and when I was in high school. Like that's really impressive and good on you guys, because this one and a few others later on the record, at least like from what I got from the lyrics, was like really impressive and really showed like some really great lyrical writing. So I agree with that one. It was kind of the first one that I was like, oh shit, like this is about some very, dark but very like deep and dark, and also I think relatable lyrics for a lot of people. Sorry, Ethan, go ahead. I didn't mean to cut in there with you guys here. Go ahead.
I mean, I remember when I started writing them, it wasn't all in one go because I had them all. There was actually a lot more. The whole bridge section in the later half of the song had lyrics over it, but it really came to be, I think, my sophomore year. I was in study hall, and I think that's kind of when the whole Ukraine and war or Russia thing kind of broke out. I was talking to some people in my class about it, and kind of just we're just talking about it and getting our thoughts. Everyone's talking about it. And I remember someone didn't really kind of understand it as much. And, they're like, I get it, but I don't get it. And I kind of just thought, maybe this be a great opportunity to kind of put my thoughts down and write some lyrics. And just as it was a general lyric approach of this type of situation, not exactly the exact situation, but I wanted to write something originally more poem-esque for someone to understand it and to kind of see it and think, okay, this is what's going on, and kind of get caught up with that. And eventually I just kind of kept working at them, and that's what they became. They became Free Reign, and I thought it'd just kind of be a nice piece to put on over some music to kind of put out there, especially with the nature of the songs and the nature of the genre and music. I thought it fit really well. But yeah, just those were just my thoughts, and it was kind of bouncing back, if you look in the lyrics, between the perspective of the people kind of pushing forwards in kind of the attack aspect, and then the people that are kind of just trying to live their life, but they're being oppressed and they're being families torn apart and things like that. And it's kind of going between both perspectives, and I just thought it fit. And with the chorus as well, free reign, I'd imagine that's how some people feel, free reign over their whole country. And yeah, it was just a bit kind of just to put my thoughts out there, because it was a very prevalent kind of thing at the time, and a lot of people were talking about it. So yeah, I just thought, just put pen to paper and just put my thoughts down.
Yeah, and it's still very prevalent to this very moment. So yeah, kudos to you on that. And it's interesting that you were able to kind of take something you wrote separate from the music and kind of put it together, and I'm sure change it up a little bit, but for the most part, take that and put it onto your music and then have it become the song. That's really cool. Cam, any other thoughts on this one as far as Free Reign goes?
I really like the intro. This has my favorite guitar solo. Favorite guitar solo on the record. It's this song.
I do have to say, because Ethan, obviously you played all those guitar solos, right? So I do have to say, for me as an amateur guitar player, I cannot do the things that you do. But each song, when I heard a solo, I was like, "Oh, that one rips. Oh, wait, no, that one's cooler. Oh, that one's cool." So that's yeah, similar to what Cam's saying there. Kudos to you on these, because every single time I heard the solos, I was like, we don't. You hear that again from a lot of bands, a lot of different aspects. I think the solo is sort of coming back even in modern metal. It was kind of like with new metal and stuff, it was kind of pushed away a little bit. But yours, like they absolutely fucking rip. So yeah, this one agreed. The solo on this one was a big highlight for the record. Going into the second half of the record, we've got Corrupt to the Core. Sean, you want to give your thoughts on this one?
Yes, this is probably my favorite social commentary. Not to make it a huge thing, but as a Black man, I've seen a lot happen with my friends, both in person and virtually. I've had a lot of nights with the topic that the song talks about, when my mom has come home crying because of something happening outside. So this one, I felt as though this one was just really important to me. It always has been. It's definitely it's a song I can definitely relate to. Yeah. So this is like in terms of like the message, this is definitely like my favorite one of the record.
Yeah, it's poignant to say the least. This one, like for me, this one, and because I grew up like very religious and am not anymore, Dark Side of the Cross was a big one for me. This one obviously as well was really really. I don't know what the word is. Like when I caught the lyrics, you know, you can get like those little goosebumps, you know, from hearing something like that's what everybody wants is the goosebump factor when you hear a line, right? I got that from those two more than anything. So yeah, this one's absolutely great in that realm.
But yeah, I gotta say, I love this song. I just love playing it. It's just the riffs for me is just so fun. I feel like the Energizer Bunny with the little drum. When I'm playing that song, it's just constant, just moving and going quick. And it was an earlier song for us, and you know, I remember going to practice one day because I'd written the whole thing out, and I had a video with it, and I was like, guys, what do you think? I was really nervous because I was like, what if I spent my, you know, these few nights that I was working on this song just late at night for hours, and then they're just like, nah, we don't like it. So I showed it to them, and you know, it was great because it was just a unanimous decision to kind of work at it. We did change things because you know we love to be collaborative. I would hate to kind of put a song out there that's just something I wrote and not have any feedback from them. But yeah, it's just for me, it's just such a fun song to play. I love doing the backing vocals. It's just a ton of fun, and that bridge part and the solo for me, it's just an overall kick. I just love it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a great one in the musical vein as well as the social commentary aspect of it. I guess if you guys don't mind me asking a little more detail on that, if you don't mind, for listeners that haven't heard it for the first time, you know, I don't know if I mentioned this, but I do a lot of track by track breakdowns with people. I talk to a lot of bands that specifically do social commentary and things of that nature. This isn't like a little like surface level you know, a conversation on these kinds of things. Do you mind? I don't know, Ethan. Did you write the lyrics for this one mostly again, or was it Sean, or who kind of took the forefront on this one lyrically?
So I had wrote the lyrics, but I do think me and Sean did collaborate on it. We did, yeah. And for parts, just because, you know, as much as it means to him as well, you know, we just wanted to kind of collaborate on it. We all have our own opinions, but we thought, you know, I mean, especially like with the nature of the music and the genre again, like, I mean, I don't know if I curse on here, but we gave no fucks. That's what we thought, and that's what we put out. And for that, you know, it may sound angry, it may piss some people off, but you know, shit, it's just what we did, and that's what we think, and you know, just putting it out there like that.
It is what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a lesson that a lot of metal bands in this day and age, especially with like the sort of like bigger radio ones, can get is like it's okay to like give your opinions on important issues and stuff like that, because like the worst thing about music is when people go in the safe zone, right? And you just kind of do cookie cutter bullshit. Like, who wants to hear the same lyrics about a relationship or something for the millionth time, right? Like, you know, regardless if somebody gets mad at you about a song or somebody loves what you do, that's better than your lyrics meaning nothing, right? Like, so that's a good perspective to have on it, I guess. Cam, any thoughts on this one?
I remember when we were tracking drums for this song, it was like a really tiring one. I remember I was just really like, tired after we got the take.
What was the last one,
Yeah, I think it
actually?
was the last song that we tracked on drums, and I just remember I was really exhausted, but I was very happy with that.
Yeah, the what's the word I'm looking for? What's the fatigue set in, but you push through it kind of deal. Like, love the result of it. Yeah. No, again, I'm gonna be a broken record on this, but the drums on this, and again, like I think for me, like with some of these songs, like the tones of the drums kind of like make the production of the song when you first hear it, because like they're so punching in a way that like you don't hear often from a lot of bands now. And I think this one had a big highlight of that too. So kudos to you on that for pushing through, I guess. All right, let's move on to Demon Inside. Again, Sean, your thoughts on this one?
I love this one. This one is about having this like voice inside of you, and I mean, you cursed already, so now I'm gonna do it. It's saying fuck off to the voice inside of you. There's so much doubt that lives inside of every human being. And unfortunately, a lot of us cave into that. We cave into that inner voice. So this was just us trying to say, you know what? Like, there's so much doubt with everything you do in life, and respectfully fuck off. Like, this is my life. I'm gonna live my life the way I want to live my life. whether that be doing music, whether that be doing whatever. Like, I don't give a fuck about what you have to say about me inner voice. Like, I'm gonna keep doing me.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, and also probably one of the most relatable songs you have on here from that instance, because like you said, who doesn't have sort of that voice or that self-doubt within them whenever you're doing anything, let alone art or something to that effect, right? Something that's more vulnerable, and especially when you put yourself out there for the first time releasing music or live or whatever the case may be. All right, Ethan, any thoughts on this one?
Yeah, I do. I mean, I love the intro to this song. I've just loved that little intro, just the way the chokes are and everything. But it's an overall just tons of fun to play. I remember writing it. I think we wrote it maybe in like a day and a half. We started it one practice, like kind of just with the riffs and the introduction. But I remember the next day we kind of were just in my garage and just riffing the whole thing out, and then the power went out in my garage and we're just sitting in there. So we had this little backup thing so we could plug the amps in so we could at least play, but we're just sitting there in the dark finishing this song up for a few hours. That's like the main memory I have from writing that, was just pitch black and just like all the speed.
So metal, you know.
I do have to say, regarding maybe the solo, it would be my least favorite to play, just because I do kind of have to, like, it's very a lot of notes in there, and it's not, you're not really picking fast on it. It's more technical. So I do kind of got to sit there and kind of go, okay, I got to kind of lock in for a second, which when you're playing live, like, I just want to jump around and just have a ton of fun. But still, overall, I love this song. The drum intro. Another fun fact, I know I keep bringing these up, the song was probably like 40 BPM faster when we wrote it. That goes for like the whole record. Like, they were all way faster. So that drum intro was just like, it sounds like just bullets going by. It was crazy. But yeah, for me, it's just, it's a favorite, and, just playing the verses and the chorus and everything. It's just tons of fun. Just a good time.
Thanks for going over that. As far as like the slowing down, was that a decision kind of when you were in the studio just for like how things sounded? Was it like something that DuVall said to you guys? Kind of what was the idea there to bring things down from like from what you said, bullet sounding drums to start a song and the whole record in general?
I mean, that was just basically 100% William. We were in there with all these songs just so much faster. Sometimes I listen to the recordings on my phone kind of just as nostalgia, to be like, this is what it was, where
Yeah.
super fast. And, I really do like them better now, because I think they've become much better songs. But yeah, that was 100% William. He was like, yeah, no, we're going to slow these down. I don't remember exactly what we started with. I can't remember, but we got in there and he was like, yeah, we're going to slow this down. We're going to do this, and you guys trust me. And it definitely worked out in the long run. But yeah, we definitely also learned, speed isn't everything. Definitely try and, think about that when we're writing, and how it might change how the song hits and all that type of stuff.
That's what happens when you go in as like a thrash metal influenced band with a guy that plays in Alice in Chains, right? Like doing the slow grunge stuff. He's bringing in that element in to kind of mellow things out just a little bit for y'all for the release. That's funny. No, but that's what a producer's role is, though, right? Is to kind of tell you, like, here's where this can make it slightly better, and that's cool that you guys listen to that.
Yeah, I do gotta say that live we play them up to speed.
Yeah,
hell yeah,
speed live in the studio. Yeah, especially Demon Inside. That one's way faster, and that's why I love playing it so much live. And that's why, like, I mean, if you listen back to the solo, and it's like now it's way faster, it's like, shit, kind of got to think about this for a second, But yeah, live is definitely just way quicker. But studio wise, I definitely have grown to love the speed that they're at.
Yeah, I mean, they sound fantastic. So again, great. That's a great tool for you guys too, is to not be so egocentric that you don't listen to the guy and go, no, like, we want it this quick. You're like, I'll trust you, and it works out well, right? All right, Cam. Any other thoughts? Obviously, you still play the drum intro like a bunch of bullets, as Ethan said, right? But live. But as far as the recording goes, any thoughts on this one?
Yeah, it was pretty fun recording it. It's very like double bass song. There's just double bass going throughout most of the song. I really enjoyed like recording this one. It was cool.
Yeah, I could see a lot of the. I mean, I feel like I'm again repeating myself a lot, but a lot of these sound like they would be really fun as a drummer of your caliber, right? That sounds like you can really lock in. For somebody else, that like if you had to bring somebody else to come in and play these drums, it would be like a fucking nightmare. But for you, it sounds like it's a fun time, so that's good. They're intimidating drums to say the least. So it's good that you had fun doing it and it wasn't so excruciating to get them down pat. That gets us to the last two songs. Let's get to again one of the ones I alluded to that I think it's hard for me to pick on records. I'm really bad at picking favorites. But if I had to like gun to my head, I think Dark Side of the Cross is my personal favorite. Probably more because of the lyrical aspect that was more relatable to me. But I'll stop talking about myself. This isn't about me. Who gives a shit what I'm saying? Sean, let's. Okay, well I appreciate that. Sean, why don't you tell me your thoughts on this one? Whether it's lyrics, recording process, etc., influences, all that good stuff.
I mean, yeah, this song was definitely fun growing up Catholic. Uh, you know, but I do like it because it just reminds me of certain encounters I've had with people who have tried to weaponize, the Bible, who just try to take things that just like weren't explicitly said and then say like, oh, that's what that means though, and be like, oh, it's not. Like
Yeah.
you trying to weaponize something that was used to bring us together, like that was intended to bring us together. So every time I sing this song, I kind of sing it with that intent. Juxtaposition of those two concepts is just, it's very, for lack of a better word, it's still fascinating. Like, wow, you have something that was like that's created to make people live in peace and harmony, yet it's being used to drive people apart. So to sing about that is definitely fulfilling in my soul.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to look at it, and what I definitely got from this, and literally the title of the song kind of says it all, right? Like kind of flipping things over and saying the dark side of something. Pretty much seems like what the song was about to put it in a single sentence. It's very, again, I think a lot, especially in the United States, very relatable for a lot of people. Ethan, any other thoughts on this one?
But yeah, I mean, I'll keep talking music because I just love playing this one. I mean, starting off with the guitar riff, it's just such a fun, as a guitar player, such a fun song to play. And it's not, well, I wouldn't say it's not too fast, but it's just, it's very fun to play. And I like to challenge myself because the riff in the verses and the chorus, you could definitely play it kind of alternate picking, but like, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to down pick it because it makes me work harder. And I love just like kind of challenging myself with that one and seeing how far I could take it. And, all the little kind of things that me and Camel also match up on, with little dive bombs and stuff like that. And the solo, that's definitely, actually, on second thought, my favorite. I'll put that ahead of Neanderthal because, man, that's just so fun to play. Going into the kind of harmonic part, melodic part after. It's just, for me, it's a great time, and I love playing that song live.
Yeah, I could see this one being fun live and also like being an exercise live, right? Like, especially if you're trying to master puppets it and do as many downstrokes as you can possible. Man, that would be, like my arm would fall off just thinking about that. So yeah, but it's a good one in that vein as well. Cam, any thoughts on this one?
Yeah, I love how the song like just kind of like starts off with the choke and then right into like the guitar riff. It's really fun to play live. I like it when we speed it up a little bit. I love like there's like this like little section where we like break it down. It's like really cool. It's like a little bit before the solo. I like that part of the song. And this is my second favorite solo. I really like this
Second
song.
favorite solo. All right, so we're seeing at least this one's like in the band. It's one of the favorites, right? So that's cool. No, yeah, it's a great one. Like I said, if I had to pick after numerous listens through, that's probably my favorite song. But it's hard to pick on this record, which means it's a good record. Getting to the last song, Locked Away. Again, Ender. This one's again another song that's just about 6 minutes long. Great, I think a great finale to a record. In a lot of the ways that a lot of our favorite classic metal records sort of have like a big send off. I think you guys did a great job with this one on that. So yeah, Sean, give me your thoughts on this one.
This is gonna be the first song I don't really talk about lyrics that much, because this is my favorite song because it's the one song I feel like I get to actually showcase my melodic capabilities in my voice, like, because the other songs really called for more of that harsh, upfront, like in your face. But this song called for me to sing, and I love to sing. So guys know that I sang. I tried to sing my heart out, but I love it. It's a song about being locked away, and I think that, I mean, to talk about it lyrically a little bit, I think that this one is very relatable in the sense that, like, yes, it's talked about being locked away and being trapped inside of a cell, but what is that cell? Like that cell could be a physical, like a literal physical jail cell. When I think about it, I think about it being like trapped inside your own brain. You know, as an ADHD kid, my brain, yo, hate it. But like, you know, I I love this one for that reason too.
Yeah, it can be taken both on like a little more literal level and also sort of like a not hypothetical. What's the word I'm looking for? Um, what are the I don't know, figurative. That's the word. God damn
Yeah,
it.
that word.
Yeah, figurative level that could be all encompassing for a lot of different people for sure. Yeah, it's and yeah, you really get to show off your chops in a different way on this one, which I think again is a good way to kind of end the record, right? Kind of, I always love it when bands change things up a little bit in that vein, a little more with the last song. I just view out like really good albums as the last song for a band being like, "Fuck, I'm gonna do what I want." I'm not saying you say "fuck it," but what I'm saying is you do it in a great way that really lends to the song in a way different way than you do on the rest of the tracks on this record. So yeah, it's definitely one where you get to shine, I think, in a really cool way. Ethan, your takes on this one?
This one for me, it's fun. It's riffy. I like the harmonies that we kind of put into play with that one. It's very sonically pleasing to me to hear the harmonies as a guitar player, especially, and kind of the way we tracked it, where there's kind of just different things going on at different times, but also at the same time, and just how everything will match up. I really enjoyed kind of putting that one together. I really enjoyed that doing that solo because I kind of just said, for lack of better words, fuck it. I'm just gonna make some noise. I'm gonna make what I think fits. And it's kind of just what I heard when I heard the empty space in that song, because that was kind of the last bit, was putting the solo over it for me. But, but yeah, it was good. That was the fourth song out of all our songs. Well, it's technically second song because that would be on the record that we wrote. So it came very early on, and it more or less just came out of us jamming. I think we just had the riff, and then Cam as always just knew what to do, and it kind of just went from there. And then yeah, I mean, for me, it's just I think it's great to end off the record and a lot of fun. We'll be playing it live for those who will see us out there on the tour in the future. So yeah, just for me, it's an overall a good one to me.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And yeah, again, for you a little bit in a different way with what I was talking about with Sean, you kind of do a solo that I not that it doesn't sound like your other, your sound in the record, but you kind of get to pull out a little bit of different elements in this one for sure, which is a cool thing to be able to do. Again, I think it caters to the last song on the record in a really good way. Cam, to kind of end off us doing this track by track, any thoughts on Locked Away?
I like this one. It was pretty chill, like recording it. It wasn't like too intense. I just remember we slowed it down like a little bit, and that was a little bit weird at first, but then I got the hang of it. I like it now that it's like a little bit slower.
Yeah, yeah, I could see that, like especially with this one where it's I don't want to, it's a little bit more of the melodic side of you guys in a lot of ways. I could see that if you're slowing that down as the drummer, especially with a lot of the rest of the songs where you're going full tilt, that it has to pull out a different side of your expertise of knowing like how to approach this lot more like kind of a different side of the band. But you do it phenomenally.
Thank you.
So thanks for going through that whole album. Again, Blindside, it's been out since August of 2024. Absolutely fantastic record. Anyone listening should definitely check it out on all streaming platforms. All those links will be below for anyone listening on the recording end of things as well. Before we get to and kind of wrap up here, because I know I don't want to take too much more of your guys' time, but I just do have two other things I want to ask you guys quick about. You guys just played Welcome to Rockville just a couple of weeks ago. I just spoke to Cliff Regano of Dry Kill Logic about his experience there as well. Obviously, for you guys, I'm sure that was in a lot of ways a big moment for you. The videos looked like you guys were having a hell of a good time. So how was that experience for you all? How did that come together? And what was it like to play on a stage that probably a lot of your favorite bands of all time have been on it at various in various moments? Like, just how was that for you guys? What was it like?
So I think it was amazing. Just it was an amazing experience overall. Getting to go first gave us a really great sound checking time, I will say. We got to basically play the whole set before we had to play the whole set. It was kind of funny. We were just going through our songs. But I mean, just to be at such a big festival with some of the best bands of all time, just being there, playing on our stage too. It's like we were on the same stage as like Nails, Municipal Waste, Mastodon. Like that was crazy to be like. We actually parked our van right next to Mastodon's truck, and I was like, "Whoa, that's crazy!" But and as a singer, it was the first time we performed Animosity, and the crowd actually sang the lyrics back to us. They sang the chorus back at me, and I was just kind of in shock. I almost forgot to pick the mic back up to start singing again, and that it was very fulfilling because it's just like, man, all this like what we worked on is like it's like real, like this dream we all share. It's like actually happening. It's playing out in real time in front of us.
Yeah, no kidding. I mean, that's got to be just even before you play, let alone just like pulling up next to Mastodon. I mean, I know you guys got to go to their studio and stuff like that, but it's sort of a different monster. You go to like this major festival. It's in your home state too, right? It's in Florida, isn't it? Right. So that's kind of a special thing too. But to pull up it's like, we made it. We're good. We got it in the bag. We did the thing, right? That's so cool. Ethan, your thoughts? What was just your experience like?
Well, like you mentioned, like it's very nice that it was only a short trip from home. I mean, barely 3 hours to get up there. So it was a nice little trip to get up there. But playing such a stage and such a festival, especially going there for the first time as a performer and not even seeing, because I've never been to Rockville before, and I was just kind of shocked that we kind of set in more when we were getting up there to kind of sound check and doing all this stuff. I'm like, God, I'm at the fucking Speedway, gotta play with my band, with my best friends. Like, this is awesome, and I was just so happy and so grateful for these opportunities. And the set was so much fun. I'm very happy with the time we were, like Sean said, the sound check, definitely for us doing it for the first time, and this being probably our biggest set crowd wise, it was definitely made me feel a lot more at peace kind of beforehand, to know like, all right, we got the sound check, got to do all this and kind of be prepared. But an overall experience, both as a fan of the bands there and as a performer, like it was just a great time. I was really happy again, like that our set was early, because I could just go and nerd out about all the other bands. It was just great, just go see everyone. And so it's just such a fantastic time. And if we're back, I'm just glad that we got to do it. It was fantastic.
Yeah, I think first and foremost, getting to do that longer sound check, as this is like probably your guys' biggest festival by far you've ever played, right? And then also getting to finish early. Your nerves are done like early on in the day. You get to sit probably side stage if you want to for a lot of these to check out some of your favorite bands. That's the way to go, man. That reminds me of like some of my favorite bands when I would go see Warped Tour back in the day, and I would ask them like, when's your favorite time to play? You'd think they'd say headlining, right? And even like the biggest bands, like, nah, we loved it when we played at 12:30 because then we could just sit on side stage, and it was like my own, it was like, my own private like concert experience the whole way through in like the best way. So all that around, that sounds awesome. Cam, what about you? What was your experience like? What were kind of your thoughts there? Were you a little nerve-wracked when you were doing it? Just kind of break it down for me what the experience was like.
Yeah, Rockville was cool. I went to the past 2 years prior, so that was cool. Like, I gotta be there as a fan and then be able to play on the third year of going. It was cool. It was hot.
Yeah,
it was hot, man.
I bet, yeah, as a drummer, probably like by the third note, you're just dripping sweat the whole time, right? Yeah.
Whole hit me, like I must have just honestly had like adrenaline going most of the time. But like right when we got off stage, like the sun was just hitting me and like I was not feeling good. I threw up a little bit.
Shit.
I was feeling better, but yeah, the sun kicked my ass, but it was cool. It was a really good experience.
With the adrenaline hitting, did you kick everything up by like another like 15, 20 BPM the whole time? Did you guys get through your whole set?
I didn't even realize, honestly.
Yeah, no, that would be the big struggle, right? I know you guys said you don't use metronomes for your recordings. Do you use metronomes live at all or anything, or just all natural?
Yeah, it's all
Nice.
playing us.
Wow. Yeah. Kudos to you guys. Cause like at a festival, that's where I could see a band like you guys pulling that out just because it could be hard to hear with the monitors and everything else and like the kind of delay of sound. So kudos to you for still sticking with that. Cause again, I don't know how many bands go to play at like a massive festival like that and don't pull out some sort of metronome or something. So that's really cool. I'm sorry you threw up and felt awful, but at least the show went well from what I could tell. And it seems like you guys had an absolutely fantastic time. Yeah, so thanks for breaking that down for me. I hope you guys get more opportunities like that in the future. I think your band sound too really like caters itself to like a big live performance like that, right? Like the bigger the show, the bigger the sound can be, like the more massive you guys will sound as sort of like, like in your element, so to speak. So I hope more of that opens up for you. You guys had all mentioned, and then I'll just have you guys do your plugs after this and let you go. I appreciate your time. But you had mentioned you have a new song coming out June 19th, right? So tell me what people can expect from this song, what the song's called, and just kind of give me the pitch of it.
Previous sets too, you have heard this song before. It's called 1,000 Tons. It drops June 19th. And, this is just, like I kind of said before about Blindside being like a representation of where we were at that time. This is a representation of where we are currently. Just sound-wise, our influences. I know it's definitely heavier. I used to say on stage, like, it feels like you got hit and you feel like you were weighing 1,000 tons because it definitely has heavy moments. But it has a calm little chant. It's a lot of fun. I think this is definitely my favorite song to actually perform live because, it just has a different energy. Yeah, it just has that energy. It just hits you. And it's short too. It gets in and out and it just leaves you wanting more. So if you haven't heard the song before, I highly recommend, take yourself to Spotify, change Saint, listen to 1,000 Tons. And if you haven't listened to Blindside already, give that a little listen. And,
I do gotta say, breakdown at the end.
Yeah.
Love it. I love it. I'm happy. I'm fulfilled because there's a very nice breakdown at the end. That's all I'm gonna say. That's all I'll say for it.
So when you hear this, make sure to check that out on all streaming platforms. And Sean, Ethan, and Cam, thanks so much for doing this. This has been Shane Saint, band out of South Florida. Last thing I'll have you guys do is just plug what's coming next. I know you guys still have a lot of your tour coming up, starting again on June 19th when the song comes out in Orlando, Florida, for your Blindside Tour 2025. So kind of give those plugs where people can find you. And then I do always play a song at the end of the podcast, and I always have the band pick it. So you get to pick whatever song from your catalog, whether it's the new one, whether it's from Blindside. You guys get to pick whatever song plays at the end. So yeah, so just do your plugs. People can find the tour, all that good stuff, and then pick a song to play at the end.
So first plug before we talk about physical stuff, check out Shane Saint Official on all what are those things called? Social media.
Social media. Yeah, there you go.
That thing, it's just gonna be the best way you can find us, learn more information. We're gonna be very active on there, just posting everything going on, just so you can get the new scoop, get what's new.
Yep.
ShaneSaint.com, that's our website. You can find all our tour dates there as well. And then, and the merch, I'm actually wearing a little bit of the merch right now, little plug. This is the Blindside hoodie. I like this. This is like one of my favorite pieces of merchandise we have. 1,000 Tons dropping June 19th. Check it out. It's a great song. And then we're going on our Blindside tour 2025. It's gonna check Instagram / our website for more details and ticket info. We'd love to have you here. Yeah. What song do we want to play up there?
It's got to be a song from the record.
Does not have to be a song from the record. Again, if you want it to be the new one, it could be the new one.
Wait.
What about a song from our catalog?
Maybe
it has to be from our catalog?
It has to be your guys' songs. Yeah, it has to be your song.
Well,
I mean, if you really want, I can, what I can do is if you want to pick something weird, I can put it at the intro as well. But yeah.
I'd say let's go with 1,000 Tons if it's going to air. Close. Yeah.
Nah, Bryce.
All right.
No, yeah.
What'd you say?
Let's go with 1,000 Tons because that's probably the best option for the release. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll do that, and yeah, I'll be excited to hear it. I'm sure the listeners will as well, and then they can go back and check out the whole album that you put out last year, right after they check that out. So again, this has been Sean, Ethan, and Cam from Chain Saint that put out Blindside. I almost mixed that up there on the Powerless Podcast. Thanks so much for your time, guys. I really appreciate it.